What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Segment Podcast. Folks, what a great night. Man, we had the city council meeting tonight for Greer, the city of Murrieta, and now we're able to jump on the podcast and talk a little bit of mountain biking with one of my favorite riders out here in the local area. Want to introduce you to him. His name is Travis Claypool, and he's definitely one of the folks moving from the ordinary to the extraordinary. Travis, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight. I know you really well, but a lot of the folks haven't had a chance to meet you yet. So why don't you just give a good introduction as to who is Travis Claypool, professional mountain biker for Trek? Who is this guy?
Cool. So a little synopsis on my mountain bike life. I work at Allen's Bike Shop, and I have been competing racing mountain bikes for just about almost 7 years now. It's been a big part of my life. I race professionally for Trek bicycles. My main discipline would be enduro. And so, yeah, this is kind of how I spend my life. Work all during the fall, winter, spring months, and then get to race my mountain bike all summer across the country. So pretty unique little niche that I'm in, but yeah, I'm really excited to be here and kind of talk about my inspirations and my little journey. So really thankful for you, Mark. This is a cool experience.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked to have you on the show. It's going to be great to tell your story. And first of all, thank you for everything you do for all of us here locally as the lead mechanic of Allen's Bike Shop. It's been a little crazy, right, here lately since COVID started. I think, have you gotten any days off?
Oh, man, that's an understatement. Yeah, it's definitely responsibility has tenfold at the bike shop. Our output has increased a lot more repairs. So we went from like a small family-owned bike shop, you'd wait 2 or 3 days for your repairs, and now we're scheduling appointments out for 2-3 weeks just to get simple service done. So it's really exciting seeing the whole mountain biking, cycling community growing. Feels like people are just discovering the outdoors again, but obviously with the pandemic, there's a lot of challenges placed in front of us. So it's a learning experience for the whole mountain bike community, but it's also really encouraging to see the community grow and our knowledge and our efforts kind of blossom into people's enjoyment. So it's really, really neat.
Yeah, in fact, that's how I met you and Riley. Riley is one of the owners there of Allen's Bike Shop. And I walked in April 1st, 2020 with my son on his birthday. And we were looking for mountain bikes, and you guys were able to help us out and show us different types of bikes. It's like right on the crest of the big wave of the pandemic. And luckily for me, there was a bike there just my size. And there was plenty of stock at that time, but I think a week after I purchased my bike, I think all the other bikes ran out the door too. But I knew I was in good company. You guys were so great about educating me on what travel means and what size bike I needed and all the different things and sit bones and things that I'm still learning about.
Yeah,
you guys are awesome. But okay, so let's get into the Travis Claypool story because so far we've just told the folks you are a professional rider for Trek, and I heard a little bit about your yearly schedule and what that looks like and balancing things. But take us back to the beginning. What sparked this whole journey to your now career of a professional mountain biker? Where did this all start?
Well, as a child, I always just spent my days outdoors. And it was when I was a kid, I really just wanted a bike to ride. And this was back when we lived in San Clemente. I lived in San Clemente for a good majority of my childhood. And I would get to just ride my BMX bike with my friends all over town, all over suburbia. We would make little jumps. And then in 2010, I moved out to Murrieta. And then I kind of got to grow a new friend group out here. And then, so middle school was kind of like my transformation into the mountain bike realm. Through friends, we just all kind of had a common interest in mountain biking, we would watch videos of all the Red Bull stuff. Rampage was a big thing back then. And I had a friend whose dad worked for Troy Lee Designs. So
Mm.
there was always this kind of toss of inspiration going back and forth. And so during the middle school years, that was kind of like, I was never a very social kid in school. I always just dedicated my energy to my hobbies and stuff that I enjoyed outside. And so BMX riding was big. A lot of my time was spent riding dirt jumps, hanging out with friends, and the constant push, who can hit this jump first, the little
Yeah.
kids, just searching
Competitive.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Competitive, searching for those limits, getting to know yourself. And then I think around 8th grade was when I really showed my parents that I had a big interest in mountain biking. They
Oh,
bought me some really crappy Diamondback from Dick's Sporting Goods, and took me probably a year to destroy the thing.
wow.
And just I was just so determined to show that I wanted to do this sport. I'd played tackle football for about 8 years.
Oh,
And then slowly I just stopped the interest in that. The whole team sport was fun, but the dads and the kids got too competitive, and it was this ongoing thing. So mountain biking for me was this individual realm where I can just express myself and enjoy the outdoors. And then so at the end of 8th grade, my dad bought me my first full suspension mountain bike. It was by no means the latest and greatest thing, but it was a hand-me-down from one of our neighbors who had joined the mountain bike team a few years ago, and it was the perfect experience for me because it just opened so many doors. Come to find out, my next door neighbor, was Cole Piccichino, and him and his dad were running a race
geez.
team.
Wow.
So a lot of influences here and there. It was the kind of the summer of 8th grade where I convinced my dad to take me out to Fontana for a race weekend. And then my first couple races were awful, but I was having fun. My dad was constantly coming back to the car with, "Here, I bought this neck brace. You need to be wearing a neck brace, and I bought you this full face helmet and all these pads." And I was just out there in cargo shorts, an old moto jersey, wearing this goofy neck brace, this 661 helmet, just all decked out for this Super D race. And I raced beginner. And then, so my first race, I got second out of two people.
Gotcha.
But so there's the first couple races, I didn't do too well, but it was just such a new experience and just kind of a fun realm to play with. So
Hmm.
I kind of made it clear that this is what I wanted to do, for a while. And so the following year was my first year of high school. And at that time, Marietta Valley mountain bike team actually just stopped the club. The teacher was done with it. All the big racers at the time, they moved on. They graduated. So me and my friends who had a lot of interest in it, we had to kind of start the whole club process again. Find a teacher who would support us. Find a coach.
Wow.
And so it was kind of this big process. Luckily, we found Mrs. Harrison, who was the TV digital teacher, and she was just awesome. Big mountain bike enthusiast. And then eventually, Miss Harrison helped us find a coach. His name was Kevin. I don't remember his last name, but we kind of just started the whole process through NICA, the high school mountain bike series.
Oh,
And so
dang.
me and my friends, we started training. Coach Kevin, he would help us out he owned a little bike shop at the time. He'd help us out with bikes. At the time, Terry Piccichino was helping me out as well. They got me hooked up on a nice little cross country bike that I could use.
Nice.
So that was kind of my whole experience. I ended up having to dedicate a lot of time to cross country, which, I didn't know it at the time, but it showed me a lot of dedication and training and all the kind of procedures it'd take to race a mountain bike. And then so we did a full cross country season. On the side, I was racing enduro on the weekends. I really enjoyed that. And There was a lot of success in the beginning of my little mountain bike run. Racing junior expert, going from some sport to junior expert. I kind of just, it clicked for me. Local competition, I ended up doing really well. Got a lot of trophies. And then so this process kind of just happened all through high school. Junior year, or I'm sorry, sophomore year of high school, I went straight into junior varsity in the NICA league.
Wow.
And so we did that round. We went to states. Cross country kind of just turned into, there's this little dread of having to do these long endurance races, but that whole NICA, I couldn't be more thankful for NICA as a program. I ended up meeting lifelong friends in the mountain bike community. Evander Hughes, Trevor McCutcheon, Cameron Joy, all these guys that today I still race against at these big enduro series. So NICA for me, it showed me how to race a mountain bike, all the process it takes and dedication. But it also provided me with this family that I could hang out with on the weekends. I could start training with them. We'd all race together at NICA, but we were always talking and thinking about what our summers are going to look like. What races we're going to travel to, what can we do together. And so this trend just was year to year to year. Junior year, I was luckily enough to know the Pichichinos, and I kind of weaseled my way into their Trek race and development team. So Terry would give me some hand-me-down bikes at first, and then I'd kind of race. I still raced at the time, junior expert and all these things, just to kind of develop my skills, build a resume, because I knew there was going to be a time where I needed to have something to back for my sponsors. And then senior year, he enlisted me as one of the riders on Trek Race and Development, and I got to spend that whole season with Nick Beachman, Cole Pichichino, Evander Hughes, and myself, and also Spencer Rathkamp at the time. And it was the coolest experience ever. Terry had this big RV race trailer. Trek provided us all with bikes, 100% decked us out in gear. We had multiple little sponsors for like Maxima, for Novatech. And so it was just this amazing experience. I got to go to these big races with everybody and just kind of experience this team. And it just really opened my eyes to what mountain biking is on this high level of racing. And so it was just a really cool experience being young, in high school, being able to say I had this external life outside of high school was really empowering and encouraging for me. It gave me something to look forward to once I graduated, like I have this opportunity. This is something I can pursue. And then after I graduated, I kind of just went full on racing. I went to community college just to kind of go through the paces, but my racing career got a little more serious. I started traveling a lot all over the country, most in the Western states. And then it was my first year. I got to first year out of high school was 2019. I got to go to an Enduro World Series in Whistler, and that just about kicked my butt. At that time, they called it the Crankzilla. It was the most humbling race of my life. It was raining all day.
Oh my God.
At the time they would time your transfers. They go, so we know the stages. We rode them all, and we give you, this is kind of our idea of how fast you can get to the next stages. If you don't make it to this next stage in time, we're going to dock you a minute off your total race time.
Oh
and
my
so
gosh.
that day there was 6 stages all across Whistler, Canada, and every stage was at a different mountaintop. And I think I ended that race with 35 miles and like 4,500 feet of climbing. And it was just absolutely insane. Pushed my body to my limits. I was crashing. The terrain was nothing I've ever ridden before. The steepest trails I've ever ridden. Southern California, you guys, is it's predictable trails, predictable terrain. You know, we don't have that much elevation, but here in Canada, we're descending 3,000 feet on one trail. Their top of the world trail, it's a 5,000 foot descent. Granted, you get a lift to the top, but 5,000 feet descent, that takes you, those race times, for me at the time, it took me about 30 minutes to get down the hill. And for the pros and everything,
Wow.
like, and that's going as fast as you can. My arms got tired before my legs got tired. So that was just an eye-opening experience, and it honestly just fueled a fire. I didn't do well during that race, but it was just the most, wow, I'm so young. I have so much possibilities. And this is what the world stage feels like for racing. So that was just a really, really awesome experience. And then so this trend kind of followed out for the next couple years. I ended up needing a job. I was living at home, so parents are pushing responsibility on me. I got to start paying for things. So that next year, I started working at Alan's Bike Shop, just a little pupil under Randy and Ryan, or Randy and Riley. And yeah, it's just been kind of growing from there. The truck development team eventually transformed into Trek Fast House team. So Terry Piccicino kind of gave off the reins to one of the race managers at Trek, Ryan Bodge. And so they invited me onto this kind of national, kind of privateer, kind of team, hybrid team thing. So Trek provides us with bikes, and Fast House is going to give us all our like gear. So that was really awesome for me. I am so thankful to find a home at Fast House. They are the most down to earth, rad people ever. So as the years go on, my whole racing family has just grown so much. So as of now, this is my third year on the Fast House Trek team. And our main focus, my main focus, we race the Big Mountain Enduro series, and any EWS we can get our fingers on. This will be my second year racing full pro. Last year was kind of we'll call it a bye year, but I only got to race twice last year because of COVID and all the restrictions, and so I'm really looking forward to this year. I got a big season planned this summer, lots of traveling. But yeah, that's kind of my little story. I'm head mechanic at Alan's Bike Shop. I've gained a lot of knowledge of bicycles over the years. I've always been the person to work on my own bikes and have help here and there. But in order to make it affordable and stuff, I got to learn how to do these things myself. You're on the road a lot. There's no bike shops all the time. You got to learn how to make your equipment work properly, and you want your equipment working at its best ability. So that's kind of why I ended up being a mechanic at Alan's Bike Shop. Super thankful to Alan's Bike Shop just because they've provided me. For once, they actually let me race during the summer. I could not find a job that would be cool with my schedule. I usually had to start a job, quit for the summer, come back in the fall, trying to find another job. So Alan's, Riley, thank you. I would not be in this position without their leeway and their flexibility and their encouragement. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of coming at a dead end here, but that's my little synopsis of Travis Claypool.
That's awesome. That's amazing that you had that fortitude to think about, I need to work at a bike shop in order to understand how to maintain, fix my bikes. When I'm on the road, I know you were telling me with sponsors and things, a lot of times you get a stipend or a certain amount of travel money or, entry fee money, but it's a budget. And so if your bike goes kaput and you don't know what to do, you're having to spend that money on the bike, and maybe the race is right around the corner. So this is a great way for you to make money and learn all about the bikes. If anybody is listening to this, I want to just encourage anybody to ask any questions along the way of Travis's story. I definitely had a question when you were here in Murrieta and you were starting out. were you riding Greer in trails like that, or was Greer developed yet, or where were
Um,
you getting a lot of your
I
experience here?
think I think Greer. Let's see, Vale Lake was a big part of my youth. Greer, we got started riding Greer probably. I want to say I started riding Greer junior year of high school, so that would have been 2016, 2017. And so back then there was probably four or five trails. Um, it was always just riding where my friends were riding. We would go up to Big Bear a lot, go ride Greer. We would shuttle Elsinore Downhill Trail. There's a couple little hidden trails out in wine country. So it's yeah, Greer's been a big part of that, and I think Greer's been the staple of my riding all these last years. It's definitely the most convenient. It doesn't have the most elevation, but as far as consistency and riding a lot, Greer has been excellent in providing that outlook. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. We got a couple folks here that are joining. We got Christian out of Idaho. DB Noob Riders in. Adam Mock is here. We have Trail Dogs just joined. Adam Mock has something for you here. Travis says, we all had a rider who took us under their wing and welcomed us into the MTB community. Who has made a memorable impact on you?
Wow. Shout out to Cole Picciccino. I've always looked up to him. I would have never thought, but he's older than me. He's in his mid-20s. And so when I was a kid, racing with him, it was really cool because he always raced professional, he always did really well. But and then come to find last year, I ended up being one of his groomsmen at his wedding. So it was pretty funny.
Oh, wow.
But definitely Cole Picciccino, one of the pro riders that I got to ride a lot with and kind of soak up his skill and then his excellence. And yeah, that's kind of only thing. That's the only really pro rider I rode a lot with. It wasn't until last year, the last 2 years, I got to ride with Curtis Keene a lot. He is very inspiring. He has an insane testimony of how he made racing work. He's a Red Bull rider and he's just beyond successful. So it was really cool getting to know him. But it's kind of a cool thing when once you're in the mountain bike community, you know, from the outside perspective, all these racers, these professionals, they seem like all these hot shots, and you know, the media portrays them as these animals on these bicycles, you know, and they are like they're incredibly talented, but racing with them is the most bizarre thing ever because you get to transfer and pedal with them. You're all at the starting line together, and it just feels like you're on a weekend ride with your buddies. Everybody's just the most friendly person you've ever met. It's awesome. All these icons and these idols of your youth, you know, that completely goes away. They treat you like a human, you treat them like a human. And you get to learn a lot from them, but it's always just cracking jokes and just enjoying the experience together. Cody Kelly, Mitch Repolato, I get to spend time with them when I go to these races, and it's just the coolest thing I could have ever imagined, you know, because it's just so nonchalant to them, and they're just so accepting. So it's been super rad being able to have these opportunities. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Adam.
Yeah, that's amazing. To have all those icons there at the starting gate, and instead of feeling intimidated, you felt like you guys are just going for a ride together.
Yeah.
But that speaks a lot to our mountain bike community. Our mountain bike community is so amazing, so warm, so supportive. You know, the next segment where we'll go into next, Travis, is trail talk. And speaking of coming together and speaking of a community, I saw you and I were both logged in at the city of Murrieta's city council meeting tonight. I saw your name pop up. I thought that was awesome. And dude, how many people do you think joined up tonight? I know we were looking at the numbers, but
I think it was around 130, 150 people, which I think is awesome. Going out to Greer, you see a lot of people there. I usually don't park in the main spot just because I can't find parking anymore. I park in the neighborhoods and I pedal all the way in. But it's astounding how much love the community has for this place. But yeah, Greer is an awesome place. And it'll be sad to see where it goes, but I thought it was kind of cool, city council, I don't think they were expecting any of this push, or I don't think they even realized how big of a community this was. So I think it's really exciting for the future of Marietta, some acknowledgement of, this is where our interests lie. And we want you to validate that and give us a place where we can practice this safely,
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a
Yeah.
great flex by our mountain bike community. I know leading into it, just seeing all the posts on social media and everybody texting back and forth, like 6 o'clock, right? Okay, let's get on the app. Is it go to meetings or Facebook Live? And at first, I saw the numbers were like at 20, and I was reading the city council members' faces, and they're kind of like, "Ooh, 20," and then it went to 27. They're like, "Ooh," and then we got it past 100, and they're like, I want a motion to postpone this to another
Right.
date so we can be able to address everybody's comments. So
Yeah.
that was
If any of
awesome.
you listening are interested, you can actually send an email out to the city council. Let me see if I can pull the email. But you can just send them an email, explain your testimony, what Greer means to you, why you think it's relevant in the community, and kind of give them a piece of your mind. I think that'll be really helpful. I think that's one of the reasons why they had to postpone it, just because they got so much more data and information from the public that they'll need to address properly if they want to give a fair hearing. Oh, the email just went away. I believe it is labels@marietta.ca.gov or something. I'm sure if you research it, you could find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll make sure we put that in the show notes and the link in the show notes as well for anybody that's listening to this in the future. I was doing a little bit of homework on this trail, and the cool thing is it sounds like Pulte Homes is the developer, and Pulte Home purchased the land, so they already own the land. From what I understand, they already have the rights to build on the land. They've got everything ready to go. They just need to go through a few more steps to make things happen. But I think what's cool about where we are all coming in at is that once Pulte develops the land, their footprint, well, let me back up. I guess their footprint was supposed to be something like 1,500 homes. And I think they're now down to like 600. So their footprint shrank. So it won't take up the whole space from what I understand. Once they're done developing, they're going to gift the land to a conservation company or a conservation group. And that looks like it's going to be one called RCA. And RCA, I called it, it's Western Riverside. It's a big, long name, but basically it's RCA. And it's like something conservation advocacy or something like that. But they will be the land managers. And I think that's going to be the most important thing for all of us is to
absolutely.
Yeah, figure out how we can best work with the land manager. Because once Pulte builds the homes, they're selling the homes and they're out of there.
Oh,
They're taking their money and then
sure.
they're gonna gift the land to this RCA, and then RCA is gonna take over the open space, and that's where we have a chance to, I think, work with them. Whatever trails were impacted by development, I think that this is where we could either rebuild the bottom parts of those trails that got impacted and connect it back to the uplines, or sanction everything that is remaining out there and make it finally a legal trail where a lot of people can enjoy it and it gets a lot of support. So I think this is a great thing, great step.
I think so too. And you can't blame them. It's private property, and they're just pursuing their business. And so they have every right to. But I think this is a great opportunity just to show that this part of our community, we value and we sanction these trails, and Chris Magenheim, he's the one that started this whole trail thing, and I don't think he would have guessed in a million years that there would be 200, 400 riders every weekend going there. And so it may be inevitable that we're going to lose a lot of these trails, but I think we're just setting a footprint. We're just setting some a little point in history where we can work from in the past. And like you best believe that we're still going to be building trails. You know, these trails are going to get built. There's a lot of land behind Greer that is untouchable, and there's going to be more trails. But I think it's cool because you look at any really highly active city, any place in Colorado, up Northwest, they really value, as a community, they value outdoors and these outdoor activities. And in California, we have so much beautiful land that's
Mhm.
untouched.
Yeah.
But like the Sierra Nevada mountains behind us, there's no mountain bike trails. There's some hiking trails, but mountain bikes are frowned upon. You go to Laguna Beach, they have mountain bike trails there, but it's like the park ranger's duty to go out there and give you a citation because you're on a trail that's illegal. So I think there needs to be a little, especially in our city, there needs to be a little more acceptance on, you know, this isn't just a place for people to live, go to work, come home from work. You know, like we have all of our activities, and we need to start promoting these healthy lifestyles and give people a place to express this.
Mhm.
And Greer, for me, you know, as a bike shop, we get a lot of business from Greer, but for me, it's I want a place where I can ride my bike. I don't want to have to plan a weekend to where I have to drive to the mountains just to enjoy myself. You know, we have all these beautiful mountains and beautiful land. Like what we gotta, I think it'd be really cool if Marietta um, started pushing for development. You know, you can pay people to build trail networks. You know, let's sanction these some places for this and do our due diligence to take care of them, right? You know, but we got to
Right.
set an example and provide a platform for people to express their enjoyment and their hobby. So I think that's where this is going to be pushing, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. Well said. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, Bentonville is a good example of how this all could be a great win for the city. Also, too, you know, 200 to 400 people come in throughout the week to ride Greer. Greer's ridden every single day of the week, weekdays, weekends,
Absolutely.
and how many of those people live here? You know, you probably have a good
Yeah.
portion of folks who live here, but there's also a good portion of people who travel here. This is a destination location for a lot of folks. People will fly in to ride Greer. People know about Greer. Some of the big YouTubers in the game have filmed and ridden at Greer, so it's so well known and so well loved.
Absolutely.
And I think the city needs to realize that it's not just like a 12-foot wide fire road. You know, these are
Mm-mm.
single tracks that have minimal impact on the land because they're smaller, but they're built in a certain way that's unique. So
Yeah.
that's why people come here. And I think this
Yeah.
is our opportunity to be able to do that. Um, Speaking of positive impact, here we go. We have Transcend MTB on the line. This guy is representing about 3,000 riders and growing every day. This is
Wow.
Ernie, the leader of Transcend MTB. MTB literally saved his life. Literally saved his life. So we
That's awesome.
have a number of folks on that. I know that the military uses Greer as well, even for PTSD when soldiers come
Hmm.
back and they're suffering from depression and PTSD. There's organizations that get them out on a mountain bike, and
Wow.
Greer is one of the stoked out places to take them.
That's super awesome. I had no idea about that. That's super cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this is a big military presence out here. So,
Hmm.
you know, I think the city. I don't know if the city knows about that, but this
Yeah,
is
I don't know.
all.
I mean, and all, like, I don't know. I'm sure everybody can attest to this, but just look at all the hikers on the weekends too.
Mhm.
People hiking at Greer, and that's Menifee, Wildemar, Marietta, Temecula. You know, we don't have an outlet for these outdoor activities. People are just hiking in the foothills, hiking on mountain bike trails, not knowing that they're mountain bike trails. You know, it's 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 cool to see the community embrace it, but it's it's tricky. We're in a catch 22. You know, we can't force these people's private property to not build. They have every right to, but I think it's a good lesson to learn. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I think that once they build on it, once we see the maps and see where the houses are going to be, and we see what parts of the trail will be impacted by their development, And then when they gift the rest of that land to the RCA, and that's when hopefully we can work side by side with RCA and say, hey, hypothetical, the bottom part of Distortion was it dead ends into somebody's backyard. Can we rebuild that bottom part of the trail, in line with your community? It's gonna just make that whole thing really valuable. And if it's commercialized mixed use, can you imagine all the mountain bikers coming in and then grabbing a beer or a sandwich in their commercial mixed use spot? It would just be an amazing spot. Perfecto Coffee could possibly have a brick and mortar. We all have had Perfecto Coffee from Bruce there at the bottom in the trailer. So that'd be awesome. Got a couple of good comments I wanted to shout out here for us, Travis. Adam Mock says, anxiety disorders are the most common mental illness in the U.S., affecting 40 million adults in the United States ages 18 years or older and 18.1% of the population every year. And Greer helps combat that. That is awesome. That is awesome. No medications, just pedal, says Transcend MTB. And Debbie Crow, a mountain biker that I met up at Sky Park. Happy belated birthday, by the way, Debbie. She says, takes me 45 minutes to get to Greer. So it's a destination for riders like me who then stop at the local gas station, fast food, and always get some snacks, food, post-ride. Greer definitely brings some income in. All great points.
Absolutely.
All great points.
Our economy is an environment, and it's crazy to see how much, from the bike shop, we got a lot of people coming from Greer, a lot of people from out of town. And it's just people making the trip out there, they're going to want to go to a bar, go get food, go spend time, Old Town Temecula, Old Town Marietta, we got a lot of attractions here. And so I think it's awesome that we're including a mountain bike community in that.
Yeah. So much potential for such good stuff. Like, there's just plenty of land to coexist with a lot of folks. So,
True.
So man, we got off on a good one there with Greer, but if anybody has anything to add to that, please do. But it sounds like we got postponed out till May 12th at 4 p.m. And it sounds like it's going to be a nice hybrid type of meeting where we could either go in person or attend virtually. That way it sounds like that's the best thing they could do to open it up, to have all of our voices heard, which is awesome. And then last one on this one, Trail Dog says, mountain biking trails are the new golf courses for housing tracks.
That is true.
That is so true.
It's funny, if you go on the Strava, there's a lot of segments that cut through Greer Ranch, the neighborhood, and it's always big, bold, stop riding in the neighborhood, residents mad, and it's kind of it's hard to see the clash, it's tricky. But
instead of getting hit with golf balls, you got mountain bikers kind of cruising through the
over
streets,
your backyard.
Right. Exactly. But it's also one of those things that's a destination draw. It's, I know I have a friend who's a retired UFC fighter who lived down in San Diego, but he happens to be a mountain biker. He purposefully built or bought a home in Greer, and he's got the kind of income that could put him anywhere he wanted to be. Wow. But he purposefully went into Greer because he's a mountain biker and loves those trails.
That's awesome.
Holy cow, check this out. We got the Colorado Kid on the show tonight. He says, I better get down there to Greer before the swimming pools go in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Joe,
there's a lot of great trails to hit in Southern California. Greer is one of those spots to stop, but definitely make it down here. There's some fun stuff.
Yeah. Joe, you got to get down. If you do, let me know or let any one of us know. I'd be happy to take you out there. This is the Colorado Kid. I'll have him on the podcast in the next couple of weeks as well. Thanks for being on tonight. So Travis, as far as trail talk, anything else on Greer that you want to talk about, or any other trails here or anywhere that you want to highlight or shout out to?
I want to highlight, Greer's not the only spot. We do have Vail Lake. Vail Lake is booming. Shout out to EC, Swalto.
EC.
They just got bought by a KOA, and they're actually paying EC to do trail network out there. So that place is really, really becoming something special. We also have X Trails. I don't know if any of you have ridden those, but they're kind of more of a cross-country trail network. They're behind the industrial park in Temecula, but very challenging and very true to mountain biking. I love those trails a lot. And so those ones, if you're looking for something exciting and to really push your physical abilities, I come out of there sweating every single time. It's by no means these crazy descents, but it is technical rocks, terrain you didn't expect we had there. And
It's
then
a little
most
bit
of
of
my, I mean,
exposure.
oh yeah, very much
Yeah.
so. Very tight riding under the trees. And then whenever I get to go out of town, I spend a lot of time in Aliso Viejo, Laguna. Those trails there are phenomenal. The elevation is amazing. It's steep terrain. It's technical. Luckily, I have a friend who lives out there, and he gets to guide me around, show me all these awesome trails. But that place is a destination in California. If you're going to go ride a bike, definitely go to Laguna Beach. You have Ted's in Escondido. Very similar feeling to Greer. You get a little more elevation, but Ted's is a lot of fun. A little more demanding than Greer, I'd say. It's got some more technical stuff, but it's a great spot to ride. And then that's kind of it. I mean, I make my way up to Big Bear every summer. That place is fun. Great trails off and on the mountain. But yeah, that's kind of the local stuff that I like to indulge myself in.
That's a lot of good local stuff. And you're right. Basically, one of the creators of Greer is now on payroll at Vail, owned by KOA. So as far as like the sanctioned stuff or not sanctioned stuff, it's like, what do you need? You need a tractor? You need a water truck? What do you want to build? It's wide open, and already there's 25 miles of trails there and more coming. I just saw a bunch of cool signs. We did a quick edit with the Outsider MTB, Tony De Silva, and took him out there with, we got the droney up in the air and everything. And it's just amazing there. Every time you go out there, there's something new. There's some kind of a new feature, new trail. It's great.
It's always evolving. It's fun.
Yeah. Crisco, so my buddy Christian, he keeps commenting about your mustache. So I need to go ahead and give him some attention here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Christian's saying, he's Crisco Bike, he's saying, but the power of the stash, the power of the stash. He's loving your stash. I think he wants to get a stash too.
I would highly recommend it. It actually, once you grow a stash, you get a letter in the mail talking about all these. It's very classified, but you get a lowdown on all these new powers you're gonna get. So definitely improved my riding. I got a lot more PRs and KOMs from the mustache. But yeah, it's good. I get teased from the mustache a lot.
That's awesome. One of the other guys that has a stash tonight is the Colorado Kid. If you see him on YouTube, check out his channel. Doing some great stuff, cracks me up all the time, and also doing some great stuff when it comes to trail building and network systems. It's actually on the news up in Northern California, like a 5:30 a.m. segment, but he was out there really just talking about a lot of the trail associations and being a part of the MTB community. It was awesome. He's rocking a stash.
That is awesome.
We also got Trail Dogs. They're rocking a stash. lots of stashes going on.
That's amazing.
Colorado Kid says, is it true, or it is true, a crashing dad would say, I'm only a kid from the waist down? Somebody asked, my buddy Joey Yates asked, is Colorado Kid not really a kid? So apparently from the waist down, he is a kid.
I think everybody's a child deep down.
Right. Oh, man. So let's move over to, from Trail Talk, let's go to product segment. I know you ride for Trek, and it sounds like you got a great history on how you got into Trek, but any product, this is your chance to highlight, talk about any sponsors or products that you like or upgrades, whatever you want to talk about.
I mean, being at a bike shop, I get to see a lot of different product and experience a lot of it. I will say Trek bicycles, and I know this is a bias, but they have been my favorite bicycle to ride. the new Trek Slash. So I'm really eager to get it. I'm currently on a Fuel EX, which is a 140, 130 bike. And I will, till this day, say that is the most fun bicycle I've ever had. There's all this, I feel like this mountain bike industry is starting to push this big travel enduro bikes, these big 180 travel, 170 travel bikes. But I can tell you, I have never had as much fun on my big travel bike as I have on my short travel bike. Short travel, all mountain bikes are the wave. I highly recommend people to at least try one before they end up buying these expensive bikes. But yeah, it's my favorite bike at the moment. And then I guess I can just take this opportunity to plug in the different sponsors and things that I've enjoyed. Sponsors, it's not that for mountain biking, it's not that you get contacted by these people. You really have to push an effort to make a contract and make a relationship with these companies. So I've been thankful to have developed these relationships with 100%, Stance, No Tubes, Trek, and I do this because I love their products. It's that's the reason I choose to have a relationship with these people, and I'm really excited. This year I got to get on with Crank Brothers, and Crank Brothers were the first clip pedals I ever tried when I was a long time ago, and I ended up riding HTs for a while, but I'm really happy with the Crank Brother clips this year. They kind of dissolved all the negative symptoms I had with clips in the past. My feet always getting sore, blowing off, had to run them super tight. But I surprised myself this year, and I'm really, really loving Crank Brothers. So I had to throw that out there.
That's great. That's awesome.
The warranty, I'm not too sure what the warranty is like on their frames. Most of these big companies, they do a lot of crash replacement. In my experience at a shop, whenever we have to do warranty with a frame, we got to do extensive photos, and you really got to get your shop to vouch for you as far as how the incident happened. But it is tricky. Bike companies, they're smart. They know how these products break. They do a lot of serious testing. So if you're going to warranty a frame, you got to kind of get your story right and make sure it sounds like it was a bike default. But yeah, warranting frames is a tricky thing. Crash replacement is usually an option for a lot of these companies. I'm not too sure. I don't have a lot of experience at Trek though.
We have Vegas Mike on the Trek. He says, I have a Remedy 8 and he loves that bike. And
Remedies are awesome.
Yeah. And Ernie here from Transcend MTV brings up actually a good point. We kind of alluded to it a bit there. So I know you're a pro enduro rider. So you're going big, you're boosting,
Right.
you're going down some sketchy stuff. In fact, pulling up a picture here, this is Travis Claypool whipping it completely sideways, way up in the air. And so you're looking at that bike in that picture, you could see that is not like 180 mils of travel.
That is actually a Fuel EX. That is a 130 millimeter travel bike. That photo is, I think 2018. So
Wow.
2017 is a really old photo, but I'm glad you brought it up. It brought back a lot of memories. It's cool. But yeah, again, that was out at Fontana, and I got to ride Terry Piccinino's Fuel EX, and I still love that thing.
So when we're talking about, I know a lot of the bike companies are pushing these big enduro bikes, right? So we're talking big bikes that could soak up a lot of the chunk and chatter, and we can hit big stuff. But here we are, we have a pro rider here who rides like 130, 140, and that's kind of not with the total movement of the bigger bikes. But there has been a lot of talk lately of bikes are just getting too big. What's your take? And for those of us who want to follow the big travel stuff,
I think the market is trying to. So enduro bikes, they kind of had an interesting start. It was always either downhill or cross country, and then enduro bikes. It's hard to. It takes a lot of engineering to get them to work well. You want a bike that you can pedal efficiently uphill, but you also want something that is very responsive and aggressive on the downhill. So I think the push for these bigger travel enduro bikes, it's kind of going towards the one bike for every challenge thing, and I absolutely support that. If you only get one bike buy a bike that you know will be capable at any destination you go. Obviously, a 140, 130 mile travel bike, that's not going to be my bike of choice if I go to Mammoth or if I go out to Colorado to ride. I'm going to be riding my bigger 170 bike, and I think that's the point. If you and it's also you gotta realize what trails you're riding. Out
Mm,
here in Marietta, my short travel bike excels here just because there's not these crazy demanding things. So I actually think it makes it more enjoyable. But
mhm.
I absolutely support the bigger travel bike if you see yourself traveling a lot and going to these really demanding destination riding. So I think that's a big thing. And yeah, again, big travel bikes, what Yo SoCal says, they do. There's a good buffer period and a bigger skill cap, and the bike definitely helps you out in a lot of bad line choices. I can attest to that. Big bikes got me out of a lot of sticky situations. So I'm in all
So,
support of big travel.
so really, it's kind of like a quiver of where you're going to ride depends on the type of bike that you want. So, probably for SoCal, it almost seems like a trail bike would be kind of your all mountain bike, the
Yeah,
150. Um,
absolutely.
might be great for out here. But then when we go to Big Bear, we might be a little underbiked if we're getting better and we're trying to send
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I think
Um,
absolutely. And I think a big experience for me is having those bikes that have limits on them. It pushes your skill sets. You know, you get really focused on, okay, I got a little sketchy there. I got to focus on my weight. I got to focus on my posture. Where
mm,
big bikes, they get you out of a lot of trouble, but you end up relying too much on the bike. And then there's this false security cap that you actually get into trouble. You know, it gets dangerous when you just rely on these bikes and then your reflex or your skill set, they're not tuned in to the speeds you're riding. A lot of people do experience that. You know, they get comfortable and then they have an accident that sets them back for a really long time. And then that's something to keep in mind. Big bikes, you know, they're great, but you always got to be challenging your skill set and doing it in a productive way where you're riding safely, and not too over your head, you know?
wow, that makes
Yeah.
sense. That makes total sense. It almost, I mean, that's the similar type of thought process when you go from a hardtail to your first dual suspension.
Hmm.
Your hardtail is going to teach you to pick as many of the right lines as possible, and then your dual suspension kind of forgives you. Now, same with the big travel bikes.
Yeah.
Crisco Bike here says, actually, Transcend MTB is saying, my common saw sucks on the climb, but a tank on the downhill. So yeah,
True.
with those bigger bikes, the big travel, is the downhill challenging because of all of that suspension, or just a bigger bike is just a bigger bike and heavier on the climb?
Well, it's so you got your bigger bikes, but it's not just that it's a bigger bike. You go into the geometry, so you're getting a longer wheelbase, slacker head tube angle, lower bottom bracket. So all this geometry is fighting you because it's really designed to take all of the energy and to function. Its mechanisms work really well when you're going downhill on steeper terrain at higher speeds. But when you're going uphill, the thing you're really relying on is your seat tube angle and um, your drivetrain. That's why we're seeing these giant 12, 52 tooth cogs. You know, so it's just kind of the thing with enduro bikes. You know, they're this hybrid that is designed. You're not going to be racing uphill, and you don't see these bikes racing on flats, but they're designed for downhill. Absolutely.
Gotcha. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, thank you for that. Well, at this part of the show, let's move over. Unless anybody has any other questions in this realm, let's move out of the product spotlight and we'll go into inspiration. It sounds like you had some really pivotal folks that were well tied into the industry to help motivate you. But tell us a little bit more about, specifically that type of inspiration. What was it that inspired you, or who was it that inspired you, and how was that inspiration kind of defined by you?
So I was thinking about this for a little bit, and inspiration, it's hard. I'm that kind of person. I don't have a favorite anything. I'm very open-minded anything, and so I had a hard time finding idols in this sport. Obviously, I drool over all these spotlighted athletes, you know, and like what they do. But I think I liked to hone in my focus on the community around me. My biggest inspiration was always my riding friends, the people
Mm.
around me, you know, our constant push to push each other's limits, you know, or the reflection of who I am as a rider in their eyes, and then what I project back at them as them, you know, is just this constant evolution. And then the more friends I met, the more my riding evolved. The greater people I ride with, the more I got to reflect their riding abilities. So I think my biggest inspiration has always been my closest riding friends, and it's really helped me develop and have an understanding of what the sport is. You know, we don't race bikes to make money. You don't see any of these athletes indulging in the luxuries of life. You know, we race bikes because we enjoy the community, we enjoy the experience, and I think that's what it's always been about. That's always what it's inspired me. You know,
Mm.
my inspiration lies in what this means for my future. You know, I will always have a bicycle. I will always be on adventures. You know, it's set up this. My interest always lie in, can I go riding on the weekends, or is this opportunity going to allow me to travel as much? You know, it's kind of just been this really, it's narrowed my scope of the world, but it's really exciting because now all I want to do is go ride at these places or go explore these mountains. You know, it's really just this transcending connection to the world, to the universe, the nature around us. So
Mhm.
that's what's been most inspiring for me.
That
Just what this is gonna, you know, it's all these races and everything that I'm racing, but I'm racing because I get to experience these beautiful places. You know, I'm not the most competitive racer. I'm always the guy that's a little too relaxed. I'm not that hard on myself. I'm always there just to encourage everybody, and I'm there for the experience and to have fun, and to ride my bike as fast as I can. So that's what's inspiring to me. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. I completely understand what you're saying there. I was actually thinking I've been out places riding where I've been solo and I'll see something amazing and you're by yourself and you take it in and you feel grounded and it's just
Hmm.
awesome because you can't get there without the bike. So it's
No,
special
absolutely
and
not.
it's your time.
Hmm.
But there's something about being with your crew of friends when you're out riding together and you all see that something special, that appreciation station, that whatever that is, there's
Hmm.
always something cool about that. And I definitely believe in the whole inspiration of iron sharpens iron. You know, you're like the sum of your group. So if you have four awesome riders that are really good in your group, guess what?
Absolutely.
You're going to be the fifth. You're
Hmm.
going to be the next one. So I love what you said about that. That is awesome.
Yeah,
Transcend MTB says lifestyle, friends, and adrenaline.
that's the motto. That is
That-
it.
that's a good
100%.
one. What's up, Adam Miller? MTB Rad Dad's in the house too. MTB Rad Dad's a YouTuber and also here just showing up better late than never. That's for sure. Thanks, Adam, for being here tonight.
What's up, Rad Dad? This is cool. This is a cool little YouTube dad community. I'm happy to be
Yeah,
of you guys' presence. This is exciting. I had no
yeah.
idea.
Stoked to have you, man. Stoked to have you. You've
Yeah.
got great information. Oh, and then Christian, of course, and a little left over for the ladies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, moving out of inspiration and into some of the questions, this is towards the tail end of the show. I like to always ask my guests some of the funny questions just to see how you answer them.
Cool. I'm
And
I'm ready.
if you would mind, here we go. So, the first question for you, Travis, is mountain biking uphill or downhill? Which one do you prefer
Ooh,
and why?
this is a hard one. Obviously, I I think the only reason I do it is to ride down the hill. But it's, you know, it's you can't enjoy it until you experience the pain. We don't have a lot of shuttle trails around here. We don't have any lifts. So however, how much fun you have to have, you equally have to have as much pain. And I think you learn to love the experience of burning calories, the legs burning, lactic acid, heart rate gets going, you're breathing hard. but that's all worth it because you're pedaling to this awesome descent. So I think they're equally. Obviously, I'll sway more towards the downhill. I will shuttle any day. Downhill is the best.
Yeah, I don't blame you, but you're right. You pay to play in this sport. You pay to play, but it's always so worth it.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay, next question is if you could start and you may have alluded to it earlier, but if you could start a secret conspiracy or a conspiracy in the mountain bike community, what would it be? What conspiracy
Ooh,
would you start?
conspiracy. I think the mustache is a good one. I think I got a lot to go with there. I think a conspiracy that I live by actually is riding with no chamois improves your endurance abilities.
Oh, is
Mm-hmm.
that I don't know if that's true or not because that is that could or couldn't be.
Well, yeah, you got to
Yep.
feel the pain in order to heal the pain. And I used to wear chamois all the time, but I just gave up on it. I hate having a little sweaty little sponge on my butt. It made my chafing worse. And it took about a couple months, but it got good. I got way better.
That's the worst too. If anybody's here online tonight and you get done with a ride and you don't have a chance to change real quick, whether maybe there's too many people by the car that or you parked and you have to be in
True.
that chamois for a while, that's definitely not a good. That is definitely not a good feeling. MTB Ride says, don't the path guys, not the chamois."
I'm sure. You'd be surprised how many people don't wear chamois now. Yeah.
Big old diaper, big old diaper.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Travis, next question is what is the most sexiest mountain bike terminology that you can think of?
Ooh,
And what is also the least sexiest mountain bike terminology you could think of?
sexiest. It's gonna be a hard one to think of. I'm going to tell you the least sexiest. I hate the word shroup, whatever that
Shroud?
is.
Have you ever
Yeah.
heard? Has anybody heard of Shroud?
Ooh.
What is Shroud? It definitely
It's an
doesn't sound
expression
sexy.
for when you destroy a corner. I shrouped that corner. I hate that word. But the sexiest word I think would be it'd have to do something with the bikes themselves. But I don't know if I could think of a sexy word.
If you
Yeah.
if you come back to it, let us know. We
Yeah.
have somebody who's helping you out with the least sexiest terminology. His least sexiest one is rider down. UO
Yes.
SoCal does
Write her
not like
down.
rider down.
Yeah, it is kind of annoying. Write her down.
Rider down.
Screaming that too many times.
MTB Rad Dad's trying to explain Shalp to the rest of the community
Yeah.
here, hitting the berms hard, like roost in it.
It's like when people burp their tires in corners.
Yeah.
That's just shroup, and I think it's ridiculous because we all know they just lowered their psi in their tire just to get the noise and the experience. I could just be a little salty because I can't do it that well, but
Get that tire slime in the berm from burping their tire.
exactly. Yeah.
What do they call it when we cheat and we grab our back brake and kind of kick out our back tire in a berm?
That's kind of what it is. Yeah,
Is
a
that
little skid.
yeah?
But
Is that
yeah,
even something that people would like? I don't.
yeah. I think it's fun though. It's fun.
Oh
It's good
man,
stuff.
that is. Oh, okay. Last question. I almost forgot about this one, and people answer this so many different ways. Okay, it's kind of off the topic, but is cereal a soup? Yes or no, and why?
Whew. Well, I'm gonna say no because
Okay.
I don't. It's not hot, and I've never had a cold soup. So I'm gonna say no. I think cereal and granola are both in the same spectrum.
Okay.
Uh, and soup is soup.
Soup is soup. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Travis Claypool, professional enduro rider for Trek Bikes. Man, it's been awesome to have you on the show tonight. Thank you so much for being here. Travis, let everybody know where they could find you if they want to follow your journey as a professional mountain bike rider, and also see your sweet van build out that you have for when you travel.
I am currently building a Ford Transit 150 medium roof. But my Instagram is probably the most frequently place I post things. I don't post things a lot. I'm really bad at that side of the sport. But it's Travis Claypool, just one word, at Travis Claypool. And that's where you'll see me the most. Or you can just come by Alan's Bike Shop and we can chat for a little bit. But yeah.
Travis Claypool, at Travis Claypool,
at Travis Claypool.
Is where they could find you. And pretty much working Alan's Bike Shop, lead mechanic at Alan's Bike Shop. If you guys have anything you need, contact Travis. If you call Alan's Bike Shop, most likely he'll answer the phone. And I know a lot of times I won't speak for you, but I do know there's been times where I've called you real quick and said, hey man, what do you think this is? And you do the best to help me while you're juggling 50,000 other things. So Travis, thank you so much. If anybody doesn't have any other questions or anything for Travis Claypool, we will end the show tonight. Thank you so much for being on. MTB Rad Dad, thanks for making it. Crisco Bike Transcend. We got Colorado Kid. The Trail Dogs are in the house. I know I'm missing people. UO SoCal. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. I really appreciate all of you. And we will see you all on the next podcast of the segment. Talk to you guys soon.